Mandela lecture on how to bridge the gap between South Africa's rich and poor. Piketty, considered the most influential economist in the globe, also said a tax on the country's wealthy would help shift inequality and poverty, which is not only persisting but worsening since the end of the Apartheid era. Well, to break it down for us, we're joined on the line by Nazreen Kader, Deloitte Africa's head of taxation. Good afternoon, Nazreen, and thank you for your time on the News Today desk.
Good afternoon, Keshni. Thank you for having me.
Nazreen, a tax on the rich to tackle inequality. What exactly is a wealth tax and how would it be implemented?
Well, a wealth tax, very simply, is really a levy or a surcharge on the total value of personal assets, either on a once-off basis or on a longer-term basis, usually implemented until an economy recovers and tax collections stabilize. And the way it is normally implemented is it is either a levy on wealth or an additional tax on the highest income bracket of taxpayers.
All right, if you think of it, South Africa has already considered and implemented wealth taxes, perhaps under different forms or in different names. For example, the capital gains tax. So why all the hype now?
You know, the problem is that where South Africa finds itself, we know that we've got weakening economic growth, we've got an ever-increasing public sector wage bill, there's financial support for state-owned companies that is increasing, and there's significant pressure on tax collections, as government is very keen to limit borrowings. And when you're in this position, it is always much easier to look to an additional tax. So I think it's occupying the political agenda once again, mainly because of the situation in which we find ourselves.
Can you speak to us, Nazreen, a little bit about tax broadening measures versus a wealth tax and how viable these would be going forward?
So tax-based broadening measures are, you actually look at your existing tax base, and what you would seek to do by way of principles is, for example, limit deductions, allowance, and exemptions. But where we find ourselves in a South African context is that we've got a very, very small pool of taxpayers that are actually paying tax, both companies as well as individuals. So it is important for us to consider what other sources there may be. And one of the considerations is to look to bring non-residents further into the tax net. For example, capital gains tax. Non-residents are not subject to tax on any other assets held in country other than property, so there is scope to increase that. And we would be in line with countries like Brazil, India, and Spain, who have done something similar. Also, you know, I think from a trade perspective, non-residents who benefit from trade in South Africa through e-commerce do have an unfair competitive advantage. And we could seek to broaden the net in that respect as well.
Nazreen Kader, Deloitte Africa's head of taxation. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your time on the SABC News Desk.